Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Looks like we're coming on 7:01. What is it over there? 10 or 11?
10:01 a.m. on
10:01.
Friday, the 14th of November.
Yeah. 14 is the day of closure. In my experience. 11 brings it in, 14 closes it out. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see here. Okay, yeah, we're good. Yeah. All right. So, well, what do you have in store for us? What movies are on the what topics? No, let me say this. What Zen story comes first?
Well, welcome everyone to the Soul Ghost Hunters radio show for this week. It's exciting for you all to join us. It's always great to connect with Todd again. And as usual, I'm really thrilled to explore some of the topics that you're bringing up in your emails and your feedback. And today's story is about a traveler. And it seems to be very poignant because we're all in the process of traveling somewhere. Some people faster or slower, but we're all going somewhere. And anyway, the story about the traveler is a woman in particular, and she's traveling in the mountains. And she happens to find this valuable gem in a river, and she puts it in her bag and keeps it, figuring that she'll use it when the time is right. And the next day, another hungry traveler comes upon her and asks if she has any food. And the traveler opens her bag to look and see what she has. And she says, I'm willing to share anything I have with you. And the traveler who showed up got really excited because he saw the gem shining in the bottom of her bag. And he said, I'll take that gem. And she said, if you'd like to have it, you're welcome to it. And so when he looked at this gem, he felt that this would be able to buy anything for him. It would sustain him. It would pay for everything in his entire life. So he was very excited. He took the gem gladly and he ran off. And the female traveler just stayed there by the river. And by, the traveler who took the gem and was on his way down the mountain decided to turn around. And he went back and he found the traveler, the source of the gem. And she said, well, you came back. And and the man who had taken the gem said to her, yes, I'm very grateful that you were so willing to give me this gem. And what I'd like to know is what allowed you to do that. And so the theme for today's exploration of films and books is all about paying it forward. It's all about finding that part of ourselves that is selfless, that is willing to share, that is willing to give of ourselves, just like the traveler who gave the other traveler the gem. Are you familiar with that story, Todd?
I have
I
never
don't
heard
hear
that.
you.
Yeah, I have
There you
never
go.
heard that. Never heard that story, but I like that
Oh,
story. I like
hmm,
that story a lot.
hmm. Well,
Yeah.
it's funny. What stands out in it for you?
Well, the old saying, one man's treasure is another man's trash.
Yes.
And I feel like the significance in relation to the synchronicity of doing this show and the things that are happening at this time, that's what it is. It's taking a position in the 0 point where the treasure and the trash are the same damn thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it. And we think of these things on, I will say, for lack of a better word, a superficial level. Where am I living? How much money is my bank? Those types of things. Where am I working? How stable is it? But this is beyond that. This is a space where the ghosts are. This is a space where everything is included. All those things that we have divorced ourselves from are put off. We can't put it off any longer. So, yeah, uh, one man's treasure is another man's trash, and those two things are the same thing.
Mm,
That's the common denominator that we have,
mm.
all of us, that space.
It definitely brings us back to that point we can all relate to. I love how you are feeling your way into this story and its relevance into what's going on in humanity as a whole. You know, there are so many different applications of it, and it very much relates to the first film that we're going to explore today, Pay It Forward, which is a movie from the year 2000. I don't know if you remember Kevin Spacey and Helen Hunt. Did you ever see that movie?
I don't know if I did. I can't remember it right now. I'm trying to.
Hmm. Well, since we're exploring sort of the evolution of human consciousness on this program, one of the things that can be really interesting is to review films from the level of consciousness where we're at and review that in the context of when a film came out. And in this case, you know, it was 25 years ago. But there are always threads of these universal gems or universal wisdom that we can pull out. And when we're talking about what is evolving for humanity, the kind of new realities that we're forging for ourselves, what are the principles that we'd like to incorporate in that? The idea of paying it forward is very significant. And in this particular film, there are a number of events, but essentially there are people that lose things that are important to them and feel devastated. They have their ups and downs, the emotional ups and downs. And incredible things happen. And we're invited to remember that when we believe in miracles, miracles happen. And one of the first events in the movie is a situation where a man gets his car banged up or destroyed. And he's very upset about it because he doesn't have money for another car and his whole life is dependent on it. And so out of nowhere, this wealthy man pulls up and just gives him his car. It sort of says, you know, I don't need it. You take it. You need it more than me. And so it sets the stage for a number of events in this movie that are very uplifting and instill hope in people's lives where they tend to lose it. And it promotes the idea that acts of good and kindness still exist and that we are the source of these things. And when we do good for others, good is done unto us. And we don't know where it's going to come from, but it's like the universe has our back and it's going to take shape in a way that mirrors the frequency we give off. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we do these things and we're shaded by the conditioning and the programming.
Mm,
We do these things. The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
mm,
The things that we've done, everything we've done has been out of love. Some people say, or a cry for love, or whatever the case is. But what I see here is the energy behind it.
mm,
I
definitely.
know, yeah, seriously, because we're dealing with an energy that's been coming on for quite some time. And it's really landed in 2025. And it's really centered on the core of the experience, which is ourselves. And I know from like 2012, I started working with what I would call, just to make it simple, the abundance energy. Now, like most light workers, I've got no money, I got no home, I got no car, da, 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 da. And you start to proceed in tandem with the energy that's presenting itself to you, the magic that you're talking about, the miraculousness that you're talking about, and this just came to me. Go figure, like 2 days ago. So for a long time, what happened was I had, as I was doing the work I was doing, more and more overhead, Restream, Zoom, XSplit. I mean, just, it would be several $100s, right? Every month. And so what happened was, and this speaks to the energy that you're talking about, in my opinion, um, I would be faced with, do I need to pay this? because I don't have anything to back it up. And it turned into pay this and don't look back. And what would
Hmm.
happen is every time I would, and this started happening again about 3 days ago, thank God. But I paid this $75 bill and boom, somebody sends a $75 contribution. So to move forward in this energy without any consideration for the parameters or the infrastructure of what we're coming out of, without, not dissing it, but just saying, hey, you know what, I'm past this. I'm going to spend this, and boom, it comes back to you. And that's
Mhm.
to me kind of how the energy speaks and what you're talking about when you brought up. And that's how it grows and that's how it works. It's not held down. It, I guess, in a way, requires action and faith. Thank you.
I really resonate with that. The ripple effect that we see in that movie and that we see all around us can go in different directions based on, what's coming out of us. And you make a significant point when you say you had to act first. The universe is going to mirror back what you do. And if you're giving generously yourself, your time, your energy, however that is presented or packaged, then it will come back to you because that's the law of cause and effect. It's universal law. But we're often taught to think small and to assume something has to happen first to be the incentive to act again. But we often have it backwards. And that's why we explore things like inversions and some of the confusions that we experience as a humanity, because we forget these things. And in the Pay It Forward movie, the things happen because someone takes the initiative first to do something good, be it, going through a drive-through where someone pays for the coffee for the person behind them as they go through, or does something else, another selfless gesture, gives away their lunch to a homeless person, whatever it is. They're not doing it because they're expecting to get something back. They're doing it because it feels right. It feels like the right thing to do. They feel good about it, but they're not expecting the reciprocity, but the reciprocity comes. It's not necessarily from the person you do the good thing for. It just comes from somewhere because the universe reverberates that back. And that's the kind of world that many people would like to see continue to unfold. And we get a lot of messages of the opposite. There are people that don't do those things, but then that's creating another universe. And the question is, what kind of world do you want to live in? And you want to behave in such a way that you want to receive that. You know, that's something that really stands out to me. So can you
Yeah.
still hear me? Hmm.
Yeah. You were cutting out. Yeah. Yeah. But I got the
Because you're
gist
sort
of
of
it.
not really what we're expecting here. Hmm.
I got the gist of it. No. Yeah.
It's testing my internet. Let's
Well, I
see.
mean, okay.
No, it
Even
should be
given,
fine.
can you hear me?
Hmm.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I can. There's just a little bit of here, but it's still working.
Yeah. You're okay. So, but this is a
There we
perfect
go.
living. Yeah.
All right.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? This is a perfect living.
Yes, I can.
Okay. There's a bit of a lag. It'll catch. But this is a perfect living example of what you're talking about. Because the reality
Hmm.
is, all the energy that's present is us. I'm getting these downloads the last 2 days, and it's like, you're not this body. But at the same time, all the human stuff still playing out.
That's right.
So you start to realize Okay, well, you know, the human experience is one end of the polarity, and the soul is the other. We have
Mm,
a lot of polarities that we're bringing to 0 point. That seems to be the navigational system for this whole thing the last, whatever, 15 years. Um, and so both come into the same fold. And I think it's easy for us to bring in those pieces of us that are the fantasies and the fairy tales and the metaphysical and the multidimensional, but to bring in the human and say, oh, you mean that part of me is equal to the rest of this?
mm,
So, you know, going back and winding it back to this movie, you're right. I was just talking to my brother on the phone half an hour ago about this. How do you describe this energy? This energy is where you just show up. You show up. You show up in all that you don't know and what you might think you know. And you just click live and you go. Okay, metaphorically and literally. Um,
mm,
and you just and you mix. You mix with the physical mirror of you or the external of you. And and you just let it go. Let it out. Um, so this pay it forward thing is a perfect example because you're not doing it for something. That's the codependent frequency from the narcissistic realm that we have created for ourselves to come to these points of epiphany.
mm.
So if you look at the infrastructure of, oh, look at what's going on in the US right now. The walls of Babylon are crumbling because everyone's made a deal tit for tat, including Trump. Okay. And it's going to happen, people. All of them are going to come down until you find yourself, right? All these people that you say are going to be the way or not because they're just like you and me. They're full of flaws. They have things they regret. They have things they love. They have things they don't understand. All this stuff, right, comes down to this point. And
Mm.
how do you relate that? Well, I think you can do some of it through the retelling, the authentic retelling, okay, which is very personal, and that's not going to come today. Not just for me, but for anybody. It's going to take a while to get there. But my point is, it's it's reaching a place where you do something for the collective that your payback is equal,
Yes.
right? So
Mm,
you put it out, no wanting nothing, but you can feel the love, so to speak, as you expend the energy.
mm. I relate to that wholeheartedly. I recently started a new YouTube channel, for example. People have been asking me about the inspirational stories that I've been collecting, and I've started to put that to images of where I currently live and incorporate some of the art I've been creating. And sometimes we do things without knowing exactly why, and the universe responds. And that's what I'm noticing. So I'm not doing it for any particular person or any particular reason other than to put it out there to empower people, to empower themselves. And I see that momentum building. It has a snowball effect. And when we look at the movies that were exploring in this program today. The next one is The Martian. Uh, and The Martian that I'm referring to is the one from 2015 with Matt Damon. Do you remember that film?
I remember, I don't think I saw it. I might have seen it, but I don't think so.
Well, this one is very relevant to what we're exploring here because, it's about an astronaut and, humanity has been taught, they are on this quest to travel to Mars with all of the scientific and other consequences that that involves. And in this particular movie, Matt Damon is this astronaut that's sort of stranded on the planet. And he has to use his resourcefulness and ingenuity to survive. But there's also the idea of humanity deciding, well, wait a second, are we going to leave this guy there or are we going to go back for him? So there is this interdependence that comes up, and it brings back that basic human instinct to help others. We have had examples on this planet of tsunamis, earthquakes, whatever the disaster happens to be. It somehow connects with everyone at the heart center. And you have people willing to do unusual things, bend over backwards to help people they don't even know, because it just feels like the right thing to do. If a hiker gets lost in the mountains, somehow we call out a search. If there is someone who's stranded in a cave, like a few years ago, there was the group of kids in the caves in Thailand. All of these professionals from around the world went to go and rescue those kids. And they did it out of the goodness of their heart, not because they were being paid for it, not because they were going to make a movie about it or anything like that. It was just something that touched them deep inside themselves. And that's sort of what The Martian does for a lot of people, because humanity has this quest to explore the great unknown. And so we all connect with those individuals that seem to have that opportunity. But at the same time, they're still part of us. We don't want to just sort of leave them hanging. And so the group of scientists decides to go back to take risks, risk their own lives even, to rescue this person. So it really brings people together, just like many other tragedies and disasters do on this planet. The question is, do we really need the disasters to bring people together? Or can we find it within the goodness of our hearts to do that without those things?
So there's always a yin and yang, right? I mean, if you look at the structure of the realm, um, and you look at, without getting too deep, look at weather modification, look at knowledge known decades or centuries in advance, planning
Mm,
done from a higher state of esoteric consciousness that wasn't shared to basically play the people, whatever. So if you look at this type of thing you're talking about, absolutely, absolutely 100%. There, and this is what I'm getting at. Regardless, because the playbook, COVID, see COVID, see whatever, 9/11, whatever, the playbook is engineered to bring about a certain end result, which ultimately is about energy and someone or something taking energy from those that are unconscious.
mhm,
Okay. However, there is something innate and instinctive within us that is unique, in my opinion, to the human heart. And I say that both physically and etherically speaking. This is what we bring to the table, where it overrides everything. It
mm,
supersedes every fucking thing. And regardless of the effery, or the design to, like COVID, for instance, it overcomes it. It doesn't just overcomes it. It accepts it, takes it in, and transmute and transforms into a higher state of existence and possibility. So,
mm,
and where does it come from? And in respect to this particular incarnation or series of incarnations, we'll call it the earth lineage, right? The human lineage. This has never stopped. This has never stopped. The human being is deliberate, uh, resilient, never gives up. And if we're going to fail, we're going to fail as a fool in love.
mm,
I mean, it's that embodied, and I feel like it's coming to the surface now. So this should be really interesting.
mm. Yes, we get all these clues, don't we, that we're invited to decode. It's like a covert mission.
Well, it is a covert. It is a covert mission. It really
Mm,
is. I mean, if you think about it, and you think about the symbology of a spacesuit. You can go to another planet, and you got to have a breathing apparatus, and you got to have a water supply on your back, and you can only be out in certain time, whatever. But think about it. How could you infiltrate, let's just say, onto a planet with all these higher consciousnesses, which you're aware of? and be hidden, right? You take the container that was created in uh in a strategy to defy the god from the lesser god level, basically, and you
Yeah.
come in, spy versus spy, and you come in and you're in this body, and the transference is pure energy. The eyes are the mirror of the soul. And how many people, that I've talked to and that you've run into and you've probably experienced are walking through a grocery store and little kids, 1 year old, 2 year old, lock eyes with you. There
Mm,
it is. That's where the transference is taking place. And I think it's broadened. And now you start to have open discussions or just openness, period. And every time any one of us is privy to that, we expand. And it's not about bringing in other things down into our body. It's about turning on the things that have been dormant in our body. So
mm,
yeah, that's a another good example. Uh, of a personal, um, a personal example of what I'm talking about.
mm. And it's an excellent one too, Todd. And for many people, they don't necessarily know what's dormant inside themselves. And so books and movies, like popular culture, are ways that we can gain insight into ourselves and sort of the bigger picture, more expansive opportunities that we have. And one of the films we explored a little bit last week was Interstellar. And I'm going to bring that one up again today because there's so much to that film and the idea of the whole concept of they. We're using a lot of pronouns these days: he, she, it, what, they, for other reasons. But in this particular movie, they has a very special meaning. And there's this whole idea of time slippage. We talk about time travel as being something that humanity aspires to. And then we have films like this one that echo we're already doing it. So it's a matter of bringing some of these dormant abilities within ourselves to conscious awareness. And I bring the example up about Cooper, who is Matthew McConaughey's character. And he is going through this library at one stage of the movie, and he is retracing his steps to his daughter's bedroom. And he goes through a wormhole to do this. There's quite a scientific explanation for this. If you're interested, you can explore it. But in essence, he's inside a piece of sacred geometry called a tesseract. And the idea is he is able to communicate between dimensions. He's in one dimension, his daughter and time is in another dimension. And he wants to convey information that he's obtained in that wormhole to his daughter in another realm. And the way the movie presents it, it's quite visually interesting. And um, it reveals that we have this ability to communicate with ourselves in many different ways that aren't really explored in as much depth as we have the potential to do. So the idea of they in the movie represents our future selves. So there's part of us that is aware of abilities we have and wants us to awaken to what they are. And so Cooper, the character in this movie, is able to convey certain information to his daughter through a watch. And it's very interesting because it invites us to recognize that there's a lot more going on, even in this moment, even in this transmission of this program, than we realize.
Yeah, you said a lot there.
Mm,
Um, so if you look at it energetically, and he's in the tesseract,
mhm,
and she's in the library, and
mm,
he pushes the book out, or
mm,
whatever it is that um, is. I look at that and say, because when I saw that movie, I was very much struck by my relationship with my youngest child of 6. Right, she's a girl, same kind of personality as that girl in that movie, and so it struck a chord for me. But at the same time, is that not my higher self speaking to me?
Mm,
trying to get the message across to me. I mean, however you want to put it in the case of semantics. The other thing that I think is really interesting about the scene and what you're talking about, and even the theme of the movie, in my opinion, is if you take the literal out, and the man through the same drive and initiative of that sharing that we talked about in the beginning, like, just putting it out there, just, paying it forward without suffering or sacrifice, just doing it because this has got to be done. Like this
mm,
makes the most sense to me and the collective, etc. So if you kind of like encapsulate that into a human being and what we're going through, and so I'll just use myself as an example, right? Like, so I will have an experience, and that experience could be, here's time, could be 5 hours, 5 weeks, whatever the case is, right? But it's an element of time within what we've been told time is. Okay. Now, why am I saying this? Because in that 5 weeks or 5 days or whatever the case is, I reach the highest level of epiphany and revelation I've ever had, and
mm,
awareness. And everything changes from there. So now I'm walking back into, let's just say it's my mother, my father, my brothers, my sisters, I'm walking back into a timeline just as he did at the end of the movie, right? And I walk back into this timeline having a wider perspective
mm.
and knowing that theirs are limited,
Yes,
right? And so the to me the beautiful part of that movie, which is a great movie, is the end where he comes back in time with that wider perspective, and
mm,
he meets his daughter who's older than him,
mm,
and she connects to that band of frequencies.
yes,
And so the whole storyline clicks.
mm,
It was always both souls trying to reach, or I will say this, both higher selves sending messages to them, their earth self, and the other one, the playmate,
mm,
trying to get them to come together. And there's other forces, yeah, like the airplane scene and all that. And they reach a point where they click. And I
mm,
feel like that kind of describes where we're at now, because we're getting to the points where we can click, where all the
mm,
stories can go away, all the methodologies can go away, everything can go away, all the fucking rationale and substantiation, everything can go away. And you just go, oh my God, click,
mm,
and we bounce from there. And we don't
mm,
know what we don't know what involves that bounce. Just like him, when he got to the after he said his saving graces and all to his daughter, he gets in a I mean, he could be like the king of the earth, man. This dude came back in time, and the whole story, whatever. So he decides, I'm gonna steal this ship, this light
that's
ship,
right.
and I'm gonna go after that which drives everything. It is another example of the masculine principle driving creation based on the expressions of his inspiration of that which has created all of us. So yeah, I think it's a great movie. I listen to the music all the time.
It's so profound, isn't it? There's so many different directions we could go with it, and I love how you highlight not only the coming together of the souls, the understanding that the father and daughter have, but also his sense of knowing rebirth is imminent. He is sort of that point as a launching platform, quite literally, when he gets into that ship. And he's going to be reconnecting with another view of the divine feminine, another source of love for him. And when the masculine and the feminine come together in balance, that's when co-creation happens. And we create universes, we create things we can't even find words to describe. And so, in that sense, the movie does come full circle and it reminds us of abilities like time travel that only the human mind can only understand it within its paradigm, within its limited ways of understanding. And as you point out, Cooper has a more expansive experience to draw from. And that's part of why he actually has to move on. He can't stay on that space station that he finds his daughter on. That's not his new reality. His new reality has to be catapulting away from that, but he understands how it came to be. And on some level, he's part of it. But what he is birthing into must take him beyond it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because, if you break it down to the masculine and feminine or just to the soul, it's the same thing. I mean, it's the same thing. Uh, absolutely. His level of awareness of reality has gotten to a point that yes, he's had this incredible moment with his daughter who's now older than him. They both click, yet his soul, and that's what happens. Like Dick Gregory said, when the universal glasses get put on you, you don't have a choice. You can't go back.
No.
so he, so it's not that he's in the pursuit of success or nirvana, so to speak. You know, I get to her, it's all going to be fine. It's not like that. It's the energy that's driving it. And that
Mm,
energy that's driving it knows that it doesn't know. It knows that, he could get, 200 light years away and some reptilians come and blast his ship to pieces.
that's right.
Or he would get there and everything's hunky dory. Or he would get there and she's gone. Or whatever the hell could happen. But it's that unknown, the willingness to go into that unknown to
Mm,
further the experience of, I would just say, for lack of a better word, for the experience of love to
mm,
be expanded again. No conditions,
mm,
just balls out. Just like, you know what I mean? Ovaries out, balls out, go for it. Like, and I think that's a perfect example, which I hadn't thought of until you said that. So he came back full circle, right? And you would
mhm.
think the story ends, but it doesn't. It
No.
ends and begins. And I think we're reaching a space now where those things and people and all the elements of our experience are being kind of like vetted. So, but there are things that are coming with us. We have had a commonality, and there are things that are coming with us, and I think the basis of it in the human experience, the power of it, is the human heart, not the traumatized and victimized human heart. I'm talking about whatever the hell that seed is that is unique to the human species based on the whatever the genetic, whatever they did, whatever. All these elements coming into one central core because that's how it works.
Mm,
And then that's new. The human was new. Now all the elements had been around, but the core of it, where you combine them all, that's never been done before. And where is
mm,
it based? It's in the human heart. It's in the things that we do, the things we do out of fear and love, the things that we do out of love. When we show our ass and we show the highest part of ourselves. So,
mm,
the fact that the movie ends that way, where he's literally, like you said, we love people that want to go out and explore new territories, but we don't want to be the one to go do it. But that's the energy. The energy is when we see ourselves and each other do that, step into that arena, so to speak, then it just this is the new math, the new geometry. It's beyond exponential. It's just huge. It's just like gonna blow our minds.
mm. And it when we talk about coming full circle too, that's half of the infinity symbol, right? So he comes full circle and he takes off to go into the other side of the infinity symbol. And what launched him on his mission in the first place was his desire to offer service. And it was being motivated by love and a call for love. He was motivated by the love of giving his children the chance to survive. He was motivated by the love he had for humanity and the continuation of civilization. There were many different roles that love sort of took on there. But it was also that selfless side of him as well, because he knew that he might not be coming back, but he was doing something that he just knew he had to do. And it began in the heart. That's where the source of the drive came from. And it comes back to that pay it forward. He was doing something for others, not because he had to. There were people who suggested he ought to, but ultimately he made the choice. And when we look at examples in films, this is inspiring us to face whatever arises in our own lives with the same sense of, well, we're doing it for reasons we don't always have to explain, but we know that it's bettering other people's lives because of it, or it's guiding us to places that we can't see yet, but we trust. And the more we trust the universe, the more the universe gives us reason to trust.
Absolutely. And I think the thing about the pay it forward thing is so okay, so if you or I or anyone does something, and we know it's a cool thing to do, we know it's a good thing to do, you know, um, there because of our human conditioning, we've had this presence in us that we might get the payback that we expected, even if it's just coming from our internal self and saying, "Oh wow, you're a good dude, man. You're a really good dude." But I think what this really speaks to, and this the going back to Interstellar, at the end of Interstellar is a perfect example, and even the movie you're talking about, the first one, it's the energy that enters the scene and my field that I didn't expect or even knew about as a result of the action that I took. It's beyond any expectation of my comprehension. It's just something else comes into the field. And it could be some weird thing, it could be, just anything, but it's something that has allowed itself uh, to come into the field based on the purity of the action taken. So it's like going, okay, you may not be ready for this. So I even look at his example at Interstellar. Uh, if you look at it from just the Cooper perspective, which is very human, it's very limited. But if you look at it from the soul perspective, which is the driver, which is what we're talking about, which is the initiating factor that we're talking about, um, he's going. If I don't get you this time, I'll get you next time. If you're not there, I'm not giving. It's not like it just ends. Death isn't real. The connectivity is still there, but the
Mm.
magic is I remember 14 years ago when I rewoke, and I was on the streets, and one of the first things that came in was faith. Go look up the word faith. And I'm like, okay, I'll go look up the word faith. I look up the word faith. First definition, it's faith, noun. The second one is a transitive verb, to trust, semicolon, believe. And it stuck with me ever since for two reasons. One, because of the words, obviously, because it really just kind of, brought it down to a nutshell. But the other reason was because it was a transitive verb. It's action. We are action. We're not
Mm.
nouns. We're action. And that's the driver right there. And that's what I think the two movies especially the first one that you're describing, it's the after effects of that pureness inputting itself into the field unobstructed, uh, without self consciousness, just being that which it is, and then other things materialize. I feel like that's the kind of field that we're stepping into on the earth, regardless of all the crazy shit going on.
And just highlighting the idea of stepping on into this new reality on Earth is a major point too, because so often we're taught that it has to happen elsewhere. And especially with the whole idea of ascension, we're going to leave, we're going to take off somehow through alien ships or however means necessary. But what's often forgotten is the grounding aspect. And so the next couple of movies I'm bringing up relate to this. And if anyone has ever heard of the Camino Trail in Spain, it's a pilgrimage that people can walk and have walked for many years as a way of finding themselves. There have been books and different films made about it. One film was called My Way with Charlie Sheen. I don't know if you remember that one in 2011. Um, but the more recent one that was suggested was by an Australian, because there is an Australian version that was made by a documentary film director by the name of Bill Bennett. And in his 70s, he was in Spain and he was watching some of these people walk this 800-kilometer trail and thinking they were crazy initially. What were they doing? And he had some pretty serious health issues. And he just intuitively decided he was going to do this. So there's this movie he made, it was in 2024, called My Way, My Way. And he just said to himself, for some reason, he's got to walk these 800 kilometers. And his wife back in Australia thought he was a nut as well, but she said, okay, if you want to do this, I'll support you. So she talked to him periodically on his phone. But what was really remarkable about the movie and the story, he made a documentary about it. It was based on his best-selling memoir from 2013, but it related to the people he met on his journey. And when one sets out on a pilgrimage, regardless of where it is, it's setting out on a path to the unknown. You don't know what you're going to encounter. You don't know who's going to show up. And he discovered that he was self-motivated originally. He wanted to heal, he needed to do something to fix himself. But through the course of his journey, he discovered he was there to help others in some way that was not measurable or foreseen. So he was able to help people simply by having the courage to step out on that trail. And that was the big revelation that sort of hit him. He encountered obstacles like other people on the trail, but he had no idea how he was going to be able to help others simply by being there and being himself. So that was a huge revelation for him through the course of his journey.
Yeah, that speaks to it because it's a simultaneous mutual reaction. That
Mhm.
speaks to the energy of what we're talking about for the past hour is it replicates itself instantly.
Mhm.
So he would never have seen the value of what his energy has to offer unless he stepped through it, which is really what he was doing for himself.
Yeah.
What he was doing for himself was stepping through it and offering the highest he could to himself. And at the same time, it starts to happen with another person. So I
Mhm.
think this is another great lead in because if you look at the communities that we're familiar with of the last 12 or 15 years on social media, and there's there's a lot of similarity in the stories. Part of the similarity in the stories is disassociation, where we have the means and the ways to connect to those parts of us that are above this and can kind of like make us feel comfortable. But it doesn't change anything here.
Mm.
It might lessen something and we might get a shot of adrenaline out of it, but it's not going away. So what I'm saying is this movie, this doc, is a great example to me of what I see occurring for myself. And
Mhm.
I'm like telling you real time, you know? Like I'm telling you, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow or the next day. And so what it is though, is that we have come to an inevitable moment. We can not disassociate any longer. We're to be our multidimensional self in our container that we call a human being and go out there and get jiggy. Whatever that is for you, whatever threshold that presents itself and you can cross, because what will happen, just like this movie, there will be an uh, immediate reaction of mutual. experience. You will see your reflections coming back at you doing the same thing you just did for yourself. And then it just starts popping. So I think that's a really good one, because it captures that moment. And he was perfect. I mean, he's married for whatever number of years. I mean, he was an old guy, so well, I'm not that far off now. So I shouldn't say that. But the point is, he was doing this come hell or high water.
Yeah,
I'm
that was his
doing,
attitude.
that's what I mean. I'm doing this. Doesn't mean to his wife. It doesn't mean I love you any less. I have to do this for my soul. And so really, that is not just his soul. That's
No.
the, that's the collective soul. And that movie, at least from what you've explained, I mean, that really to me is a great example of the mutual reaction, the mutual soul scientific reaction that happens when we step through that space. And now we're doing this uh, in mass.
Hmm.
Two,
We certainly are.
three, five. It's coming. It's not conferences and expos, and it's not that. It's the raw and the real, like this, and like many other things that are happening around the world. Where, yeah, we're not. I'm not having a conversation with you, and 14% of me is out of my body. I'm 100% here as a human being, but also the rest of me is here too. This is kind of the ground I see that we're walking, and that's a kind of very human from a multidimensional perspective. Looks very mundane, but it's the driving force of this physical transformation because that's what's becoming. It's
And
becoming.
and it's a perfect segue to the last film I have to explore with us today. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's called Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's a movie from 2022.
Is that with Tom Hanks?
No,
No. Go ahead. Tell me
no.
about it.
It's about an Asian woman, actually. She ended up getting the Best Actress Oscar for the role, but why it is so standoutish for me and for some of our listeners is because it highlights the interconnectedness of all things and the sense that we have this increasing connection to a multidimensionality. It's almost like universe hopping, because that's essentially what this movie's about. This woman sort of is meeting multiple versions of herself in different bodies on different timelines, involved in different narratives. And she sort of loses herself initially because there's just so much going on. There are so many conflicts, so many obstacles. It's a bit overwhelming. But it also echoes that the multiverse is, I would say, like a metaphor for infinite possibilities that exist, but we need to ground in the present moment. And grounding here on Earth doesn't deny our multidimensionality, but it's challenging in order to embody that. And the feeling of what it is to be present, because so often with all of the distractions we have been offered or given, or however you want to describe it, prevent us from remembering what it feels like to be grounded in ourselves. And this movie talks about the options of choosing kindness, choosing compassion, choosing the virtues that end up grounding her through the course of this crazy series of narratives you live through. And it sort of says that we can find that inner peace even in the midst of a chaotic world. And that's really the key to everything, because there are a lot of narratives around us as a collective humanity that are currently crumbling. Structures that we've come to rely on, depend on, see as our normal are falling away or losing our attention. And in the movie, this woman somehow is able to deal with vertigo in a very literal sense. She's just spinning literally through all of these different crazy scenarios, and she's able to ground herself. And if you think of the torus, you know how we have this tube of energy around us, our energy field. Regardless of what's going on around us, we can centralize that tornado, that cyclone within ourselves. And that's what it illustrates in a very roundabout way, but a very clever way. So if you haven't seen that film, I would highly recommend it.
It sounds really good. Um, and in relation to the grounding thing and tying this together, because there's no mistakes, um, with the other ones. I well, I'll give you an example. Like somebody very dear to me told me a long time ago, when you're out of whack, pick up the microphone and go live. So
I love it.
the reason I say that is because they're right.
Mhm.
It's for the most part. I mean, it's a grounding element for me.
Mm.
Now, I go to the beach. I went to the beach last night. I took my shoes off, put my feet in the sand. I do my thing with Mother Goddess, and yeah, that's grounding. But there's something about that faith, the transitive verb, trust and believe, the motion of spiritual inertia. There's something about putting it out there as it comes in. And to me, that's grounding. So when I listen to this story, which I'll have to watch this movie, I can see that. I haven't seen the movie, but I will bet you that the way she works the bugs out is to start moving. Holy shit. Where am I? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, let me just start. I mean, it's and I feel like that, you can describe this realm in a lot of ways, narcissistic, patriarchal, fear-based, death-based. Um, but, when you get right down to it, it's about stagnation. It's about saying, okay, here are the rules and regulations. We're going to live this way in perpetuity. Well, the universe doesn't work that way, you know?
No,
It doesn't work that way. So now we come to this place after God knows how many incarnations and other planetary existences and all the things the universal has experienced. And we come to a place where we're merging like this deep physicality with the non-physical. And what is the navigational uh, efficacy is to keep going, to keep going, because look, I walked through the town last night. I walked through this town for a few months. I was just telling somebody this, and I came out of the convenience store and I was on another planet. I'm not, no, seriously, I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about the energy was
yeah.
so loud, so
Mm.
divergent, and all over the place. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But
Mm.
that's the outline of the story. So what happens? I stay with my go-to, you know. Well, I'm going to go do this for me. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm probably going to blow one, you know, have a little water, a little beer, whatever the case is, connect with the mother. And, so I guess in a way, like in that storyline, ultimately, for her to function, for her to further experience, for her to have these experiences with more ease and grace is to be herself, is to go back to herself.
Mm.
That's all you can rely on, you
Mm.
know? So that's
That's
that's a that's a fascinating movie script.
that's exactly what she discovers essentially. And after going through all the different scenarios she experiences in the movie, she does have to learn to be happy wherever she is.
Yeah.
Whatever's happening in a given scenario, she's got to find a way to ground herself, allow herself to feel what's happening, tune in, and then the scenario would change. And so ultimately, she does return to where the film starts off, but she's a very different version of herself because she has a deeper understanding of a whole spectrum of emotions, a whole spectrum of experiences, which is a wonderful metaphor for our lives as human beings, because we all do live vicariously through each other in some sense.
Mm.
Whether or not you aspire to be, a professional athlete or a politician or someone in religion or whatever the organization might happen to be, there's a part of you that is living out experience through these different channels. And we're all learning from that. And when you can ground yourself in who you are, that is also the ability of letting go of those things you're not, letting go of behaviors that you outgrow, letting go of all those things that you still value on some level, but you no longer feel that they are necessary for your continuing growth or blossoming. And you just allow yourself to go in toward the unknown, those things that you can't explain, but you're making discoveries all along the way, just like each of the characters in the films we brought up today. And I just want to say thank you to you, Todd. Thank you to everyone for giving us the feedback again this week. We always appreciate all of that because it's a lot of fun to sort of get to know ourselves better and to see what's happening to humanity through our own time travel.
Yeah, and yes, and thank you. And I like that movie too because the movie seems like different lives, different times, and all that. But
Mhm.
really, if you look at it, and I haven't seen the movie. I'm glad I got close to it in terms of what I picked up from it. But when she comes back into this scenario, every day is like that movie. Okay,
Exactly.
so I feel like another way to describe possibly or head that direction to what's happening to us is we're no longer going to be enslaved by the what ifs. Well, what if this happens, or what if that happens, or what if this happens, or what? And we're just going to go like the other movie. You're just going to go, and you're going to find, you're going to base yourself in yourself, and function from that place. And so anything that does come at you, I had this happen again. I mean, I had three dogs follow me last night, but I came around one corner, and there was a pit bull, and I came around the corner, and it went "Arr!" and like raised up, and I just went, "It's okay, man." But it was it. I did that because I wasn't skittish, because
Mm,
I was in my space, I was in my field, I was in my soul, and it was a natural, spontaneous reaction that two souls understood, right?
hmm
So I think the other thing about this movie with this lady is, one is that you're actually experiencing this movie every day, all day long, every single day. And the other thing is this that stands out to me with what this movie presents uh, from the other polarity. So we want to be, and we can deny it all we want. We want to be in a certain place, in a certain set of circumstances, and this is the way it is, and everything just be chill. My PTSD will never come back, right? Kind of thing. But this is what we've come to. We're
mm,
not being allowed to do that. We're being asked to step forward into the arms of love, to put it that way, by the perception that we hold.
mm,
It doesn't mean it's going to be, oh, we got there, we live in a big castle now, and everything's cool. No, you're going to step into this next space, and it's going to create there'll be new energies involved. There'll be a new dynamics involved. It won't stay stagnant. And so I'm not saying this as an end all cure all. What I'm saying this is how I'm seeing the navigational system operates in
hmm
the highest efficacy, in the highest efficiency. That it is being this open. And it's mind blowing because we've been pulled back, for so long. But yeah, these movies tonight were, yeah, especially the last one. Holy shit. Yeah, that's fascinating, really, because that's our story. It's our story. Just go back to your last lucid dream sequence. How many different scenes did you, why is this underwear on the ground here right now? Oh, I just purged. Okay. What is this? Who are these beings? I mean, like we go from one thing to another, but what's the constant? The constant is us. And it's
That's right.
not, and it's not the us that says, okay, freeze everything. I want to stay right here in the corner. Yes, I'll be your slave. Put me in a cage, whatever, like freeze everything just so I can kind of get my arms around it. No, that's not how it works. That's what the programming did for us, is to
Mm,
have these absolutes, these false grid lines or whatever you want to call it, laid out So we would buy the bullshit. But we're breaking through this, and really the the challenge, so to speak, is going to be less about what the hell happened, but what's happening. Because we're the shit, you know?
It's like we are all frequency navigators. And from the moment you begin to view yourself as energy moving through bandwidths of energy or worlds of energy, and you reclaim your lost power or power you've given away, then you are navigating your ship being your vessel, your body, mind, soul complex, and you can consciously decide where to go from here. If you're going backward in time, forward in time, sideways, or some other direction, and reclaiming that deeper understanding of yourself changes how you view what you've done already and also where you're going and where you have yet to go. So it's very exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I think a big part of it too is, and I know we've talked about this for years and it's in sacred text and all that, but to really get to a point in this new remixed version, this newest iteration, nobody did anything to us. we we did agree. I don't care the situation. I understand people have been heavily traumatized. People have suffered far more than I have. Okay. But this is a soul lineage. The human lineage is an overlay, and it's a substantial and worthy experience, experiment, overlay, whatever, because of the coding that it provides for us to seek and find. But yeah, everything is on me, and this is where this whole thing about that I was saying earlier, and you can relate to this, the light workers, star seeds over the years. I'm a hermit. I don't like people. I'm not going out. But hey, it's we are going out. We are. And the first one we're doing it with is ourselves. So
Mm.
if we want to allow our insecurities and there's no wrong. I'm just saying you can't bullshit the universe. So if I want to take a snapshot and freeze everything and say, let me just keep it this way for a while, that's gone. That's not going to happen anymore. And so, yeah, buckle up.
Mm.
It was a great show. Always a great show. I'm very impressed with these. Yeah, these are great.
I'm glad you enjoy it. I enjoy them too. And from what our listeners and viewers are providing as feedback, there are many people enjoying it. So keep watching, keep providing the feedback, and we'll see you all again soon.
Yeah, yeah. All right. I'll see you in a week. You take care. And I got your message. I've got like 40 or 50 or 60. I
Crazy, isn't
saw
it?
it.
We just
I'll come back to, I think a lot of it has to do with the energy that's being put out, but